My name is Kerrie, and my goal is to inspire healing and meaning in all areas of life. In this podcast, we will dive deep into conversations. From heartbreak to freedom, we will explore different self-care modalities, learn to be the best expressions of ourselves, and to live with purpose. I'm here to offer my personal insights and to share my story in hopes that it will guide you on your path. This is Heal with Care, a journey of self-discovery. I was sitting in the emergency room waiting for a doctor. My world was spinning, like literally spinning. I was nauseated. I couldn't look at my surroundings because everything was moving. My partner was pushing me in a wheelchair, and that movement of the chair made me feel so sick. I was barely holding it together. This was the worst I had ever felt physically. In my entire life, I have had headaches, I've had minor dizziness when I skipped meals, but nothing has ever compared to this. And sitting there, I couldn't help but ask, why is this happening to me? I'm an intuitive energy healer. I take care of my body. I know how to listen to my body. So why was it failing me? About 4 years ago, I went through a heartbreak that completely changed me, emotionally and physically. For a month, I could barely eat. I knew I needed to do something about it, so I made a decision. Whatever I had for an appetite, even if it was something I didn't usually eat, I would eat it. Even if it was fried food, something sweet, something buttery, I avoided indulging in so many things, but this time, if I felt for it, it was going down. For the first time in my life, I was actually eating chocolate. And let's just get something straight. It's not milk chocolate, but dark chocolate. I know this might sound very small, but growing up, I really didn't like chocolate. And here I was in my mid-30s reaching for it. So that heartbreak really shifted something within me. And after that, I stopped living by these strict food rules that I used to have for myself. I started to savor in things that I always resisted. But I wasn't overindulging. I was just living a little bit more freely. And compared to the average Canadians, I was still eating pretty healthy. And then, earlier this year, my doctor flagged my cholesterol at my annual checkup. I took this very seriously. I increased my fiber intake, focused on whole foods, cut back on anything that was high cholesterol, saturated fats, and I signed up for a gym membership at my local gym because I needed to add in some cardio to my daily routine because apparently my morning yoga stretches weren't quite cutting it. At my mid-year follow-up, my doctor confirmed that it wasn't hereditary, the cholesterol. It was actually dietary, and just like that, my cholesterol was back to a healthy range. Still, I couldn't help but wonder, why was it that eating just a little bit more fat or butter than normal had such a noticeable effect on my body? Not that I was eating a stick of butter or anything extreme like that. It just wasn't something my body was used to. In fact, it was probably more butter than I had eaten in the past few years combined, maybe even more than I had eaten most of my life. To think about it, I don't think I'd even really bought butter unless I was baking something, which, by the way, was very, very rare. Even though it wasn't in excess amounts, it still felt like a lot for my body. Growing up, I didn't like butter. I didn't even like to spread it on my bread. I would almost feel sick to my stomach just looking at it. It's as if my body had always been cueing me that this wasn't right for me. With that being said, I'm perfectly fine when it's incorporated into something like a flaky croissant, which is my favorite, by the way, or like a piece of cake. As I sat in the waiting room, there was nothing I could do except to surrender to the human experience I was having. What I realized is that a few weeks before this happened, I had found a Reiki book at a local used bookstore. As I sat there in the ER, something I'd read came back to me. Reiki can be used anywhere, anytime, even in a waiting room, and no one has to know that you're doing it. So I did it. The triage nurse had given my partner a cool, damp towel, and I held it over my eyes. And while I sat there looking like I was just resting, I quietly gave myself Reiki for the first time in a public setting. Around me, there was a kid with a fish hook in his hand, people frustrated at the wait times, the general chaos of an emergency room. And there I was, calm, present, holding my hands over my eyes, giving myself space to be. My guides prompted me to eat something. I sent my partner home to walk the dog and bring back a fruit smoothie. He hesitated to leave me alone, but I told him that I would be okay. I had 5 Reiki clients scheduled later that week, and I started to worry about having to cancel these appointments. My guides told me not to worry and that I'd be fine by then. My partner later came back with a smoothie and a juice box. I drank the juice right away, and slowly the dizziness began to fade. I never actually received an official diagnosis for what happened that day, but when I got home, my partner and I started piecing it together. That week, I had some candy that was high in sodium. It was not a crazy amount for most people, but for my body, it was actually noticeably high. And I noticed that whenever I ate too much salt, my right ear would start to feel full. And that's my body's way of signaling to me that I've had too much salt. This is why awareness of your body and knowing the signals it gives you matters so much. Your body is always communicating with you. When you miss the early signs, the subtle signs, it makes it more obvious. A few weeks later, I sat in meditation on why I couldn't indulge in these kinds of foods the way that others seemed to be able to. And what came through was this: you were meant to be a channel. And if I'm being honest, there was a hint of this feeling of disappointment because I love good food. I love exploring different flavors, trying delicious things. So hearing this made me feel a little deflated. So for context, when I'm sending Reiki, I'm not using my own energy. I act as a channel. Energy flows from an unlimited source through me to my clients. And the more that I sat with this and reflected on it, the way that I've had my healthy lifestyle for many years, my sensitivity, my hyper awareness of my body, it all started to make sense. It felt like my body needed to be clear in order to do this work. I've always wondered why I was different. I can't tolerate caffeine, so that means no morning coffee or black tea. It gives me headaches. I've never enjoyed drinking alcohol. I've never smoked or used drugs. I rarely take over-the-counter medication, and I tend to get heavily bloated when I eat processed foods. And now, apparently, I need to be mindful of the excessive intake of salt and saturated fats. That doesn't mean that you have to eat clean to be spiritual. That's just how my body seems to function. Every body is different, and I know some people who are very strict about their diet for spiritual work and others who aren't at all. I'm not necessarily for or against clean eating. What I've simply noticed is that when I have clients booked back to back, my eating naturally becomes cleaner. And when I don't have any sessions, it relaxes a bit. Strange, but true. It's almost as if my body needs time to prepare itself to do energy work. And interestingly, the 5 clients I saw that week had some of the most powerful experiences that I have ever witnessed. Coincidence? Maybe. I don't really know. But it felt like some kind of energetic upgrade, something inside of me shifting. I can't fully explain it. Maybe it's something I'll understand better with time. But here's the thing. This wasn't just about my diet. This was about the bigger transition I'd been navigating. I'd moved from corporate work into entrepreneurship, and I had underestimated what that would look like. It was more responsibility, more pressure. The work was 24/7. And last year, I did everything I could to not miss a single opportunity. I hustled so hard, but I burned myself out. After the ER, I made changes. I started scheduling my behind-the-scenes work instead of letting it bleed into everything else in my life. I stopped obsessing over the finances because that stress was doing more harm than good. I surrendered to the trust that I'd worked hard enough, I'd laid a solid foundation, and that was enough. And something interesting happened. The moment I started to take care of myself, clients started booking. I didn't have to work harder, it just flowed. As if the universe was saying, "We've got you. You're supported. Just show up for yourself." I'm sharing this because I want you to know it's okay not to be superhuman. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be everything, do everything, carry everything, but your body will tell you when it's too much. First, it's very subtle, like a clogged ear. then it shouts like a dizzy spell. What I know now is that change is hard. Transition takes time, and you will not get it right immediately. You'll try things that don't work, you'll push too hard, you'll learn, and slowly you'll find your rhythm and find your balance. Now, I carve time out for yoga and stretching. I meditate in the mornings, sometimes with mantras. I journal. I work through my triggers. I pay attention to what I consume, which is food, content, energy. I say no to things that don't feel aligned, and I check in with myself regularly. And I'm so much happier doing that. So even in the chaos, you can take a moment for yourself. You can start to look at your life honestly, to see what's working and what's not working, and decide what to do next. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be what everyone else expects of you. You just have to do what feels best for you in that moment with the knowledge that you currently have. And as time goes on, you'll begin to find your own rhythm. And then you will start to feel so much more balance in all areas of your life. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you feel called to, please share this podcast, subscribe to it, and leave a rating and review. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at healwithcare@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at healwithcare. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.